Stand before the gates of ancient Nineveh, and you would face the single mightiest, most feared capital the entire ancient world had known. This was the city that once ruled a truly vast empire stretching from the Nile River all the way to the towering mountains of ancient Persia. 2,700 years ago, Nineveh stood proudly as the largest, richest, and most powerful city anywhere on all of planet Earth. Nineveh rose along the eastern bank of the mighty Tigris River, chosen by early Assyrian kings for its fresh water and rich, fertile farmland. By the 7th century BC, it had grown into the largest city on the entire Earth, home to well over 100,000 living human souls. Massive brick walls, stretching nearly 8 miles around the entire city, were studded with 15 heavily fortified gates facing outward. Beyond those towering walls stretched a deep defensive moat, engineered carefully so that no invading army could ever approach without being seen. Watchtowers rose along the battlements at regular intervals, allowing sentries to spot approaching danger from many miles across the plain. At the very heart of the city stood the palace of King Sennacherib, a structure so enormous that it was proudly called the Palace Without Rival. Its endless halls were lined with carved stone reliefs depicting lions, warriors, and the relentless military campaigns of the Assyrian army. Sennacherib also built something no city on earth had ever seen before, an aqueduct system carrying fresh water across 30 miles of stone. Hanging gardens climbed in green terraces above the palace grounds, watered by clever machines that lifted river water uphill by sheer force. Merchants from Egypt, Babylon, and the Levant crowded Nineveh's markets, trading spices, fine textiles, ivory, and gleaming precious metal. The narrow streets smelled of roasting grain, burning incense, and the sweat of thousands of laborers hauling stone for endless construction. Assyria's power rested on one thing above everything else: a standing army feared across the entire known world for its brutal efficiency. Iron weapons, rolling siege towers, and heavy battering rams allowed Assyrian forces to break down walls that other empires thought unbreakable. Kings carved their conquests directly into stone, boasting of cities burned, enemy kings captured, and entire populations dragged into exile. Fear itself became a deliberate weapon of war, as Assyrian rulers spread stories of their own cruelty to discourage any future resistance. Yet this same empire also moved captured peoples across vast distances, permanently reshaping the ethnic map of the ancient Near East forever. Under King Ashurbanipal, Nineveh became something far greater than a mere capital of war. It truly became the intellectual center of the world. Ashurbanipal built a library unlike anything ever attempted before, gathering thousands upon thousands of clay tablets from every province. Scribes copied ancient texts on medicine, astronomy, mathematics, and mythology, quietly preserving vast knowledge for future generations. Among these tablets survived the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest and most influential works of literature ever written by any human hand. The king himself proudly boasted that he alone could read the most difficult cuneiform, a rare skill even among Assyria's own royal scribes. This remarkable library would later give modern historians their clearest possible window into the daily life of ancient Mesopotamia itself. But beneath all this grandeur, dangerous cracks were quietly forming, as decades of constant warfare drained the empire's soldiers and treasury. Conquered nations across the empire simmered quietly with resentment, waiting for the exact moment Assyria's iron grip finally began to weaken. After Ashurbanipal's death, his rival sons fought bitterly over the throne, plunging the mighty empire into a civil war it could not afford. To the south, the city of Babylon seized its chance, rising in open rebellion under a king determined to end centuries of Assyrian rule forever. Babylon soon found powerful allies among the Medes, a rising force from the Iranian plateau, eager to see Assyria's dominance finally destroyed. In 612 BC, this combined army marched steadily north toward Nineveh, laying siege to the great city that had once seemed utterly untouchable. For nearly 3 long months, the mighty walls held firm, but hunger and exhaustion spread through streets that once overflowed with wealth. Then the Tigris River itself turned violently against the city, swollen by heavy rains until it tore a breach through the ancient fortifications. Enemy soldiers poured through the broken walls, and the palace that had never once known a rival finally faced its own final desperate battle. Fires spread rapidly through the royal chambers, consuming carved reliefs, wooden beams, and the great library's fragile clay tablets whole. Ironically, those same devastating fires baked the clay tablets rock hard, preserving Ashurbanipal's library for future archaeologists to find. Within only a few short weeks, the city that had ruled the world for centuries lay in ruins, its people scattered, enslaved, or simply gone. The prophet Nahum later described the destruction with grim satisfaction, calling Nineveh a city of blood that had finally been rightly punished. For centuries afterward, the great mound covering Nineveh's ruins sat forgotten, its very name slowly fading from human memory almost entirely. Local legends spoke only of some buried city beneath the distant hills, with no one certain that Nineveh itself lay hidden below the quiet soil. In the 19th century, archaeologists finally uncovered the astonishing truth, unearthing palace walls, winged bulls, and ancient tablets. What they found completely rewrote ancient history, revealing a civilization far more advanced, literate, and organized than anyone had imagined. Today, the quiet ruins of Nineveh sit near the modern city of Mosul, a haunting reminder of how quickly even the mightiest empires can collapse. War in recent years has further damaged what little remains, threatening to erase the last physical traces of this once great ancient capital. And yet, despite fire, siege, forgotten centuries, and modern conflict, the memory of Nineveh has somehow, against all odds, always survived. Its library outlived its palaces, its stories outlived its armies, and its name outlived the very empire that once believed it feared no one. Nineveh teaches a lesson that every great civilization eventually learns, that power without balance carries within it the seeds of collapse. History never truly disappears. It simply waits quietly beneath the surface for someone curious enough to dig it back into the bright daylight. If this journey through Assyria's fallen capital fascinated you, consider subscribing for more cinematic historical reconstructions like this. Every single like helps this channel bring more forgotten empires back to life through detailed historical storytelling and careful research. Tell us in the comments which lost city or ancient empire you want brought back to life next in our future cinematic reconstructions here. Until then, remember that beneath every quiet hillside might rest the memory of a city that once truly believed it would last forevermore.